energy issue, also in terms of pushing back Iran. The threat of the theocratic terrorist state. What type of talks will the president have when he sits down with Vladimir Putin and the other world leaders in dealing with trying to deal with the nuclear program and ratchet down perhaps some of the tensions that have been continuing?
I think the message from President Trump on Iran will be that the Iran nuclear deal is dead in the water. He's also going to reinforce the message, and it's the right message, that sanctions have to be not only enforced but also further strengthened as well. And this is a clear message for all of America's European allies, especially France, Germany, Great Britain, for example. They have to comply with U.S. sanctions that are in place. And I think the president will make it very clear that every single European entity that does business with Tehran will be hit by U.S. sanctions. The message also applies, of course, to the Russians and to the Chinese as well. And I think that Iran is going to loom large, certainly, with regard to the G20. But without a doubt, I think that the U.S. policy of maximum pressure against the Iranian regime is significantly working. The Iranian regime is being brought to its knees economically. The sanctions are working. And I think you'll see an increasingly desperate Iranian dictatorship in place here that is struggling at this time on the economic front.
Well, that is why they say they're lashing out. And there's talk, like back in the tanker wars back in 1987, of having an international group of military powers protect those oil tankers. 30% of the world's oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. But the president said something very interesting to Chuck Todd on Meet the Press in that interview, which kind of shows that U.S. has the upper hand in this. Listen to what the president said.
Do you know that China gets 91% of its oil from the Straits? We don't even need the Straits. We are now, because of, since I came in, we're the #1 energy producer in the world, okay? Actually, by far. And if I get the pipelines approved through the environmental process, which I will in Texas, we'll go up by another 25%. But we're way ahead of Russia. We're way ahead of Saudi Arabia. And I think that they want to negotiate. I don't think they like the position they're in. Their economy is absolutely broken.
You know, it seems like there's more at stake for China and the Europeans when it comes to Iran than us.
Well, there certainly is. I think it's in everyone's interest to ensure that the Strait of Hormuz is kept open for trade and for business, for the for European companies, European powers who rely upon oil getting through the strait. And we cannot allow Iran to blackmail the international community here. And the United States is leading the way in standing up to Iran. And Iran's tactics of aggression, its threats, cannot be allowed to work. And I think the U.S. president will be appealing to all of America's allies on the world stage to work together with the United States in dealing with the Iranian threat. And let's not forget that Iran remains the world's biggest state sponsor of international terrorism. It is hell-bent upon building an extremely dangerous ballistic missile program. It is intervening across the Middle East from Yemen to Syria to Iraq. Iran is a huge problem for the world, and it's vital that all of America's allies stand together with the United States in confronting the Iranian threat at this time.
And as critics point out, the Iranian deal would have given them potentially a clear path to a nuclear bomb within the next decade. Nile Gardiner of the Heritage Foundation. As always, Nile, thank you.